footsteps of my King.
All right, everyone, welcome to this episode of, we'll do Idleman Unplugged, even though I want to put on Pastors Unplugged. I think this is better for everyone. I have a special friend of mine that I'm excited to announce. Pastor Malachi O'Brien is on with us. How are you doing?
Pastor Shane, thank you. I'm here. We've been talking for a long time about doing this conversation, so I'm fired up to get at it today.
And you're the only one I know with a doctorate in communication?
Yeah, it's twofold. It's in digital media.
Wow.
As a storytelling tool, and in my dissertation, the stories that were being told were stories of revival. And so...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Incredible. So you might know a little bit about Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all that, how that works, huh?
I know that, and I know a little bit about that. And I also know, Pastor Shane, that if you ever hear somebody use the phrase like, are you on the TikTok or the Facebook? You know they're really not
true. Yeah, you don't talk like that.
Hey, let me give you this for your audience, though. I shared this with somebody yesterday. You might find this intriguing. I know there's a lot of controversy right now about TikTok, okay, about the Chinese.
China.
I'm telling you, mark my words, if we do ban it in the United States of America, you're going to lose a generation of voters because the next generation cares more about convenience than they do security and safety. And so we have to come to a more common sense solution because that's the number one platform for young people.
Yeah, it is. 20, I know like 15 up to 35, I'm sure.
Massively.
But anyway, our conversation is pretty incredible. You actually broke a world record. And when you first told me about this, when did you start? November?
I started October the 7th.
October, that's right.
I might have started telling you weeks before, but I started October 7th.
Yeah, okay. I'm encouraging you, but in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my Lord, how in the world is he going to find time to run a marathon or jog a marathon every single day, 26 miles outside, of course. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Cause some people break it sitting on their bicycle inside or their swimming pool inside. I mean, I saw pictures in the snow. What was the lowest? 25 degrees.
It was minus 20. In minus 20. It was, we had a winter bomb in the Midwest, like 2 days before Christmas. And we were on a family vacation in Colorado. So the elevation went from 500 feet to 8,500 feet, and it was minus 20 degrees. And I was in Woodland Park, Colorado, trying to do my 70-something marathon in the most brutal weather conditions I've ever experienced.
And I think what amazed me the most was, I mean, I can't even understand it if life is smooth and you get up, you've got your plan all day. Hey, don't talk to me for a while, don't communicate, but to go and travel like you did that in Denver, of course, or Colorado, and then you went and Eric Metaxas met you towards the end, but then also you did it in Florida.
Yep. So I ran with Eric in New York City. He ran with me
that's right,
on the Marathon 151, and he's the reason why I chose 153, which we can talk about that in a second. Yeah. He ran 22 miles with me in New York City. We went through Harlem, across the George Washington Bridge into New Jersey, came back, and we went to the place where Dietrich Bonhoeffer stayed at Union Seminary in 1939, which was liberal then, like radically liberal then. And then we went past the church, the Riverside Church in New York City, that in its history, it's had Fidel Castro preach at it, okay? Just in perspective.
Oh, my goodness.
It was liberal in the 30s, liberal now. And we went to the church that Bonhoeffer went to that Sunday night and was encouraged and went back to Germany 3 weeks later.
And died shortly after that, I think. Now, is that university right now led by a woman?
You know, I don't know for sure. Eric just was able to point out the prophet's chambers at the window and just tell me it is liberal as liberal can be.
I think because that name rings a bell, and I think that's the lady I debated on Fox News who said Jesus would be okay with abortion. And what was the name of the seminary again?
It was Union Seminary in New York City.
I think that's it. If that's her, so yeah. I mean, you're like after like 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, he's gonna text me that he's done with it. And a month goes by, and
you'll love this. You'll love this, Shane. I ran in. This is just fun for your audience because I did travel, although you encouraged me not to travel as much. I think I was going to try to come out and do something with you, and you said, let's do something when you're done.
Yeah.
I ran in Palm Beach, Florida, like marathon 28, 29, 30. I was at a Tony Robbins event, okay? Tony Robbins event.
That's right.
And I got up super early in the morning, and I ran around Mar-a-Lago every morning with a headlamp on and my GoPro with me. And I was sure security was going to stop this guy who keeps running around the property at 2, 3, 4 in the morning when I was doing that.
What was that easier to jog than Colorado?
Well, I'll give you this. It was a yes. I've been super careful not to use the word. It was less challenging.
Less challenging, right?
But I will tell you, just a running lesson is it's easy. I hate to use the word easier because I chose to specifically say these runs are not hard; they're challenging. Right. Because you got to choose your hard and choose your definition for it. And these runs are never my definition of hard. But running in cooler weather is less challenging than running in warmer weather.
True. The way the body operates.
It's minus 20, you might die.
No.
You know.
No, I can get my best. I mean, if I'm up in the mountains and it's 40 degrees out, I mean, I can get some good. I think it has a lot to do with the oxygen and the cool of the body, the temperature and things like that. But
running without sleep was definitely
that's hard. And you know what, I never really responded, but these people who were, I don't know if they just love being critical, like, negative Nellies or judgmental Jerry's. Oh, well, that's 100, big deal. I mean it's just
if you do anything worthwhile is in the ministry, as a pastor, as a person, as a business leader, you make other people who are living average, complacent, mediocre lives uncomfortable, right. And it's easier to tear down than build up. It makes them feel better about themselves. And, and so, they're everywhere. I mean, the funniest criticism, I mean, I've got so many crazy criticisms, but perhaps the funniest, Pastor Shane, was towards the end. I was getting slower towards the end of all these marathons, but one day I'm about 3 blocks from my house and the school bus comes by. Okay. The afternoon school bus comes by and some little kids yell out the window. They say, "You're slower than molasses." I'm like, and it starts at a young age. The criticism.
Oh my goodness. Well, how'd they even know? It's funny. The back of my shirt says, be kind. But on the back, you don't know what someone's going through.
Exactly.
And we make these assessments, but just so people know, it's 153. So you broke the men's and the women's. Yes. Guinness Book of World Records will acknowledge it. I think once they have to look at all the GoPro,
all of the documentation,
and that in and of itself would be challenging because the battery can't go. I mean, if the battery goes out.
If the battery goes out, and I had moments where things got crazy like that, I have to document it really well, and then I have to troubleshoot really fast and get something going again.
Get on film.
Because I had one day that my GoPro was destroyed on the run because I was running and it had snowed the night before, and I'm running on the side of the road, and several cars drove past me and they threw snow on me. They threw snow on me, and I had my battery side open on my GoPro because it's plugged into a charger, and they threw snow. It went right into my first GoPro, and it shut it down, and it doesn't work to this day.
Wow! And so it's 153. You decided to stop.
Yes, 153.
And the record was 106 by a woman.
Yep.
Has that been beaten since?
I believe it's been beaten, but it's not been recorded as beaten yet because there was a lady in Australia that did 150. But there was Jackie Hunts Boozma is a Blade Runner. She did 104 and got the women's record. And then it got beat, which is, you own the record for that period of time. I believe somebody's going to beat my record. There's a lady right now. Her name's Candace. She's the race director for the Tahoe 200, the Moab 240, the Bigfoot race, and that's part of the country. She's on like day 140 of running an ultra marathon every day. She's doing a 50K, and she's doing a 50K every day, and she's on day 140.
That's 100 miles a day.
No. So she's doing a 50K, so it's 31 miles every day.
Oh, 31 miles. Okay.
But
wow,
still,
that's still
it's
incredible.
I when people reach out to me, they go, well, what happens if somebody beats your record? I go, I have nothing but respect for that. Like, I'm not like going to be upset in the least bit. I know what it takes to do it, but and please grill me on that, but I can tell you, I want people to do hard things. I want people to beat the record. I want it to have inspired a few people to aspire to do hard things. And, you know, Shane, I look at you and your ministry and your church and, you know, the nights of prayer, the early mornings of prayer. And I go, you do what most aren't willing to do. And it's, you know, everybody has some things that they're doing that's impressive. And I look at you and I'm impressed at the stuff that you do in the ministry and your life. And so it was a gift of God for me to kind of take 5 months of my life, 5 months of my life. 5 months. And do this every single day. I feel like I went in a caterpillar and came out a butterfly, you know?
Yeah, you sure did. And we want to I would say your top 3 lessons learned, but I think number 1 that's really standing out is the mental barrier. Mm-hmm. And not only for running, like most people listening to this aren't going to be able to do what you did. I don't, probably nobody really, but mentally you can see, like even you said, you know, I'm going to use certain words.
Yes.
And I think there's power, there's life and death in the power of the tongue. You know, I'm not name it and claim it and faith to believe, you know, but there's something about self-talk and motivating yourself. And that's why people keep beating records, is because mentally they know somebody did it and they can beat that record. Mm-hmm. And that's why people keep. So that lesson learned was probably pretty powerful.
The biggest critic people face in their life is the inner dialogue they have in their head, what they tell themselves. And so, like, one of the lessons I learned, Pastor Shane, was it's not the external conditions that stops most people in life. It's not the weather. It's not the
challenges,
the wind. It's not the external things that stop people, although they may say it's that stops them. It's always the internal thermostat in their soul that triggers and goes off or shuts down. I am convinced that the impossible is possible in your emotions, your body, your spiritual walk, every which way, but you have to, you basically have to burn the boats and have no way out. Shane, I told a lot of people that I was going to do this. And so
I remember like, wow,
what am I going to do? Am I going to, like, what happened to you? I quit. Why'd you quit? You know? So I had that accountability, that pressure, but there was this radical in my mind, no going back. There's nothing left. It was I already knew that this was going to be done that day. And, you know, there was, you know, maybe another powerful lesson I learned was the power of only focusing on today. You know, the power of today, the power of focusing on what's right in front of you with hyper focus. Like right now, I'm all in on this discussion, this conversation, like nothing else. I honestly think multitasking leads you to live a mediocre life. Go all out with where you are. And then when you switch gears, focus on something else. But what you do today impacts tomorrow. When I was running, what I ate today impacted tomorrow. How I slept today impacted tomorrow. How I ran today impacted tomorrow. People want to have a great tomorrow. Focus on today. Focus on today.
That's true. Yeah. And that's 2 biblical tips so far, because number 1 is the power of the made up mind, you know, commitment, perseverance. It's all biblical, discipline. Mm-hmm. And then number 2 is with, you know, let your yes be yes, your no be no. Make that commitment. Don't let things sidetrack you or knock you off course. And I call it the defense attorney within.
Yes.
You know, that defense attorney within needs to be fired. And I think the only thing we talked about that I was only kind of worried about was if you got pretty sick.
I did get sick.
And you did persevere through some of that, you know,
I got sick
season.
In the worst ways you can imagine. Like, it was like the week of the Super Bowl, give or take. I'm trying to reflect on that. I have to go back to my journal. I know the exact date. I got 102-degree fever. Okay. And I woke up throwing up and everything that goes with being sick and having a fever. Use your imagination. And I had cold sweat. I couldn't sleep. And I knew I remember it was very vividly. It was a Saturday night, Sunday morning. I got church. And I've got the run afterwards. And I thought to myself, for a split second, it's like, you could quit now and no one would blame you. No one would fault you.
Oh, for sure.
And I said, no, I don't care how bad it is. I don't care if it takes me 12 hours. No matter what, I'm going to do it. And sure enough, it was one of my slowest runs. Every mile was distinctly felt, but I was able even to press through 102-degree fever with the throwing up and everything else.
Wow.
Because again, we can break through most things with the power of a made up mind,
Yeah.
and it's honestly hearing the voice of the Holy Spirit. When you know God's called you to do something, he will give you the strength in that minute, that second to get to press through it. And so again, on the other side of suffering is David Goggins would say greatness, but as I would say, it's transformation. And what I've learned, everybody wants transformation. They want lasting change. They just don't understand that there is a crucifix in your life that you're going to have to go through to have that.
Right. Well, like David Goggins, you mentioned, I mean, I don't recommend people listen because he cusses a lot, but I've caught a few things where he lost 100 pounds to get ready for the Navy SEALs. Mm-hmm. He did in 3 months. And it is just a matter of mathematics, 3,500 calories a pound of fat. I've got to burn 350,000 calories, divided up, boom, boom, boom. But the workout routine is insane. I mean, I tried it one day and I'm like, no, I mean, just to have fun. Like, no, I'm not going to work out 3 times, and eat 800 calories. It was pretty challenging.
Like those YouTube videos, those YouTube videos, people have seen them that say, I tried so-and-so's diet for a day or a week, or I tried so-and-so's workout for a week. Yeah, I've seen those everywhere. You should have made one for that one.
I want to do that one. And then, and hope he listens to this, because I'm praying for him just to get saved and to know the Lord. I'm praying for a lot of people down in Hollywood too, in my area. But like the carnivore diet, I tried it for a day, meat only. It sounds good, but until you get through half the day. Have
you ever tried Wim Hof's ice challenges?
Yeah. Okay. It's, man, you got to see how much is up here. Granted, you want to use wisdom too, because when you step into, I went to our pool, it was 42, and I lasted about 8 minutes up to my chest and just praying and just, there's a lot to cold bar therapy and things. Yep. I try not to get too crazy because, biblically speaking, just balance. But what would be the third takeaway? Because I know we're both going to go on a call here shortly that we're excited about.
There's so many takeaways, but let me play off what you just said.
Or 3 or 4 more. Yeah.
There is no such thing as balance. There in
True.
life, there is no such thing as balance.
You're out of balance is healthy.
Yeah. I mean, balance on whose scale? And who's weighing the scale? Like, again, I'll use Goggins just because it's in his latest book. Again, I'm just giving you a philosophy of thought here. He said, in moments of your life, you have to become obsessively focused in a point where people think that you're way unbalanced if you want to achieve success in certain areas. And so there are moments, like people criticize Elon Musk for so many things, like, he sleeps at the office. And I get how those over the period of time. But in our lives, if we want to make radical change, you must become obsessed for a radical season in certain areas to experience transformation. Like Tony Robbins had a big impact on me with this idea that if you ever want to make a change, take massive action now. When you are in a state of mind that says, I want this or anything else,
you got to jump on it.
Jump on it
now.
And
like when I did that 40-day fast, that documentary, and it was like, it's everyone who said, man, that's extreme or whatever. What they call extreme one day, they call faith the next day after they see it fulfilled. Oh, what great faith. But they didn't say that initially. They were, kind of calling you out for being too extreme. But you've got to take, especially how much more for following God.
Totally.
To be extreme.
Totally. Well, and again, we've got to be obsessed with what God's called us to do. I learned this, that you've got to run your race. So this is maybe number 4 is in running, because I was always a runner, got into ultra running, before I destroyed my knee in high school. That was another conversation. But in running, you have to stay focused on your lane and the way you've planned your race and the finish line. If you spend your time looking around you at the other runners, or even worse yet, looking behind you. So people get really messed up in life and in their head and their heart. And for pastors, for example, when pastors look at what the ministries of other people, the churches of other people, the buildings, the podcasts, the attendance, all of that, you're looking at other runners, and even if you don't think it's a big deal, it distracts you from the race God's called you to run. And that's why so many guys are unhappy or they're not satisfied, is because they're looking at other people and to be a success. And that's why, we're told in scripture to run the race looking unto the Apostle Paul, looking unto, our favorite podcast preacher. It doesn't say that. Looking unto our favorite TV preacher. Doesn't say that. Looking unto our favorite politician. Doesn't say that. It says looking unto Jesus. And so if people want to discover joy, fulfillment, they need to just stay in. You got to know your lanes. You got to know what God's called you to. Like I've been called to this extreme life of running and radical prayer and fasting and pastoring a church in the middle of nowhere. That's my lane. I don't want to go pastor a mega church. You got to know your lane. And honestly, you and I have talked to a lot of guys in churches of different sizes. A lot of them are unhappy. Now, I think they're unhappy for many reasons. One of it is you will be unhappy if you eat McDonald's every day and you don't work out and you're
lots of coffee and caffeine and can't sleep well. Yeah,
totally. And that's why it's so important for people. Like so Pastor Shane, when I was doing this run, and you got to realize I am ADHD to an extent. When to have the gift to take time to be in my head and my heart for 6 hours, 5-6 hours every day, that was a gift.
Wow.
We need to slow down to speed up. And meaning is some people need to take time to really sit in silence and sit in your thoughts and dig deep, go deeper. You want better answers? Ask better questions. Ask better questions of yourself. Like, I want to know, Pastor Shane, why I get how I get depressed when I get depressed. Why does that happen? What's going on in my head? What's going on in my heart? What am I seeing? I'm intrigued by the things that affect people because I know people want lasting change,
Yeah, so true. So true. Any last minute points? I mean, that was so much right there. I'm motivated because there's things, me and you have a passion for fasting and prayer. And if you apply all those principles to fasting and prayer, you would see some tremendous results because we quit mentally before. It's not hunger that takes us out.
No,
it's the mental, because most of us can go a while without eating. It's this up here.
It's 100% the mental aspect. And so the reality of in all of this in life and in ministry and everything else is we are you have to just know what you've been called to do and realize that everything is temporary.
Yes.
And again, I would say this, even being tired is a feeling tied to your emotions. We'll do another podcast and talk about emotions, because if you want to be healthy in spiritual life and physical life, you have to have a strong emotional. But here's the deal: people need to lose some emotional pounds, some emotional calories. So that's
because we let emotions take us down.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't feel like jogging, or I don't feel like praying and fasting. I'm moody. I'm in a bad mood. I'm angry, and so we use that as the excuse to cave in.
Oh yeah, and so again, man, I wish we had 2 hours to talk about this, because you're an expert on because of your past experience into the physical health part of all this. And I mean, maybe that's another separate conversation.
Yeah. That would be great.
People need to lose some emotional weight. They need to lose some spiritual pounds when it comes to their jealousy of other people, but they don't ever call it jealousy.
Yeah.
A sign of jealousy oftentimes is that people criticize a lot, And
true. Yeah. Pride. Yeah.
Even those of us that have a prophetic edge on us, the Michael Browns of the world, the Shane Idlemans of the world, the Greg Locks of the world, we have to make sure in our heart, why are we saying what we're saying? Are we saying it just because our people that listen to us want to hear it? Or we really feel like this must be said and we're convinced we want to say it because God told us to say it?
Absolutely. Oh man, this is awesome. So I'm already ready for the next podcast, but we're at about 25 minutes, perfect timing. Where do you want, can people find you anywhere?
I'm on social media. I want to ask this, is there potentially a conference coming to your church sometime this fall, potentially?
We're working on it. Yeah, I've got Greg Gordon with Sermon Index. We've been texting this morning. It was pretty amazing because I texted him about possibly having a conference at our church, and he's texting me asking if I would be open to that. It's this, like, I'm reading his text. I'm like, he couldn't have saw my text yet, so that's good. And then I've got to email out to our team about the dates and stuff. Hopefully October. Love to have you out there because
I would love to be
business as usual is not going to cut it anymore.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so that's why people need to be following you, the podcast, the social media stuff, the blogs, the news stuff that you do, because I really believe God's raised you up as a voice. John the Baptist, in the wilderness, I am a voice.
Yeah.
And so people can find me on social, and I tweet and talk about things like running and fasting and politics and Tony Robbins. So I'm a little all over the map, but Twitter's my primary platform. I'm at Malachi O'Brien, MALACHIOBRIEN. And if anyone listening right now wants to text me, here's my cell phone number, 501.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, 501.
Whoa.
538.
You're braver than me.
Yeah, let me give it again. 501-538-8886. If you're listening to this, text me how I can pray for you. Please text me.
And only people truly seeking questions or prayer, right? Not the judgmental Jerry's and things like that.
Please don't tell me that it's that I'm slower than molasses, or that you don't like my red jacket, or that I didn't really beat a record. I'll have nothing but empathy for you, because my love will take over your hate. So,
and I do see, I get this a lot too, because David Goggins or Tony Robbins, people are like, you shouldn't mention them. Well, we can learn from other people. I pray for their soul, but you can learn from, Tony's newest book on how the body works, stem cell research, rejuvenation, microbiome. Yeah. It's good information, but I don't look at these guys as spiritually at all. I just pray for them.
I believe Tony's a Christian. He professes faith in the Lord, but I'll give you this.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
He does, but I'll give you this, because I heard him interview the head of Chick-fil-A at a recent business conference. But let me give you this as we're closing out. Why would we not want to learn from the best of the best in their field of expertise? Like, if you want to learn about money, don't go to broke people. If you want to learn about physical health, don't go to people who are unhealthy. Learn from the best and realize that all truth is God's truth, and be a person that can take in a lot of information and then let the Holy Spirit filter it into your life.
Wow.
I'm not afraid of other voices, because I want to become, I don't want to settle for less than I can be, give, do, or contribute. I don't want to settle for less, and so I want to learn from people that are.
It's funny you said that. I just realized that the majority of my health and fitness background, learning now probably 30 years, has been from like the National Academy of Sports Medicine. A lot of non-believers there, or Peter Attia. I follow a lot of his podcasts, or Alan Goldhammer. One of the fasting clinics, and these guys are so much wealth of information that you take what is when they start talking about evolution and stuff. I'm like, okay, well I'll just take the meat and throw out the bones.
Remember this: when they write books and they deal with stuff, you're getting decades condensed into days.
Yep, exactly.
People produce resource, and so you want to catapult your life 20 years ahead. Read some books and learn. Yes. What they've spent a lifetime learning, they put in a book, and
it's amazing.
Learn from the best. And if something you don't agree with, make sure you know why you don't agree with it and move on.
A funny story. Every time I get counseling appointments, people come up for alcohol addiction, whatever it is. I'm like, here's my book, and they're like, oh no, but I want you to answer I go, this is like 30 years of right to the point, 5 hours worth of every single thing. So it's not that I'm blowing them off. I just really think this is going to help you a lot more than my quick little answer. Because what about this setting? What about this dynamic? What about this background? What about this environment? What about your hormone levels? And so it's just funny that always happens. I'm trying to help people, but they think I'm just trying to here, read my book, leave me alone. And I'm not. I'm like, I don't have 5 hours to tell you everything I've researched and things like that. So anyway, 100%. I'm gonna stop the podcast, and then we're gonna set up another one, because I want to talk about all these other issues we missed. All right, everyone. Again, Malachi O'Brien, thank you for coming on. You can subscribe at Idleman Unplugged or Pastors Unplugged, any of the platforms. I think it's on 18 different platforms now: Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, all the top ones. So we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Honored.